her life. And then suddenly, everything's crazy. Like our whole, I had hair down here, now bald, I have staples, 55 staples in my head, I'm in children's hospital sleeping on a sofa on this medicine, and we meet wonderful people like Dr. Storm. You want to see a rock star? Go to one of these children's events with Dr. Storm. They're like, oh, Dr. Storm! And everybody, just tonight I'm like, oh, let's take our picture. And there's Dr. Storm. So, like that, that's our story. So Leah has her brain surgery, and she had her first brain surgery was really pretty scary. Her tumor was wrapped around one of the arteries in her Sylvian fissure, and I remember Dr. Storm said the trick was to get it out without rupturing that artery, but it ruptured, and she was bleeding in her brain, and he had to get out, and it was horrifying, and the next day when they went in to do the MRI, he found a second brain tumor, and there was all these different options, but it really frightened me, and I said, let's let it go, and let's see what happens with it. And we let it go for 4 years, and it didn't grow, and that was great. And Leah tried to play softball again. Leah tried to play field hockey, but she wound up having seizures, and she was starting to have them out on the fields, and it became dangerous. So she couldn't play softball or field hockey, and all of her friends kind of went off and played their games still, and they were great. They would write her cards and stuff while she was in the hospital, and but when she came back to school after her her second brain surgery, nobody pretty much knew what to do with her. She looked the same, but her speech was delayed at this point. She had delay in answering, and she was quiet, and she would sit by herself at lunch, and I'd say, did you play with anybody, out at recess, and she'd say, no, I sat on the step by myself, and everybody played, and I thought, oh my God, this is just horrible. Not bad enough that she had to go through 2 brain surgeries, but now she's losing friends and social skills, and I had asked at the hospital, do you guys have any kind of support group? And Leah's brain tumors weren't malignant, as mine wasn't, and they caused damage by, pushing in and things like that, and so she couldn't really get oncology kind of support groups, so there was really nowhere for her to go, and I said, well, there has to be something. There has to be some way for her to have a connection, a friend, anybody that knows what she's going through, and there really wasn't a place for her to fit in. She didn't fit in that way. She didn't fit in school anymore, and she became lonely. She started to get depressed, and this was over 4 years. Suddenly one day we received this wonderful red bag in the mail, and I thought, oh, what is this red bag? And in this red bag, there was this information about the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation, and I looked in the book, and there was this other little book about this little boy with a brain tumor, and there was all these different fun things, and I thought, well, let me call this number and see what they have. And this great woman named Stacia, we spoke with her, and she was just loving and wonderful, and I just loved the way she talked, and I thought, I love her. And so the first thing that we ever went to was this kids' cruise around Manhattan. Now, we're from the suburbs of Philadelphia, and for me to get on and go to New York was like, oh my God, are you kidding? So I thought, well, we can figure this out. I need to find Leah some friends, and we're going to go to New York. So I said, let's do it. So we got in a car, and we found our way to Manhattan, and off we went. And we were on this private boat, and here's all these kids and these parents, and they had clowns, and they were from the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, and I thought, wow, this is great. And all of a sudden, we're like right up against the Statue of Liberty, and I'm taking my kids' pictures. Like, oh my God, this is great. This is going to be like a Christmas card. And, it was just amazing. It was just really amazing. And, Leah was kind of like, okay, let's see what this is all about. And, we didn't talk to too many parents at that time because it was a pretty big event, and we didn't get to like talk one-on-one, but it was just fun. And that's something that we had not had in a really long time, was fun. Pretty much at this point still, we had done like 3 doctor's appointments every Monday for like 10 years still. But, and at that point, we just didn't have fun. We had trauma. So that was fun. And then we did this thing called the Big Apple Circus. We went back up to New York again, and I drove again, which now I'm learning how to use the train really well. I was driving in New York. It's not, you think the scoop was bad? Try not fun. So we went to this Big Apple Circus, and that was fun. And then we learned about this Montana trip. And I said, you want her to get on an airplane by herself and go to where? I'm like, I don't let her go anywhere, ever. And so I thought, okay. So at that point, they had left from Philadelphia. You know, you would drive to Newark, and we got up real early, and we drove to Newark, and there was a group of them, and I thought, okay, and there was a girl, you know, who was older, and she went, and Leah was in the very first time they ever did the Montana camp. So they all went, and Stacia was there, and Leah was, you know, sad and wanted to go home and stuff, but Stacia was there, and she was loving and wonderful, and Leah had a good time. And then she went the second year. And then I think the third year she left from a girl she had met in Washington, D.C. because she took the train down by herself to D.C. And this girl was a little younger. And here the plane left without them from D.C. And I'm at my job having a nervous breakdown. And she said, that's okay, Mom, I can take care of it. I'll get her. And the other girl's hysterical. And here's my daughter, who had a lot of fear and was pretty much afraid of doing everything, who took care of this younger girl and got her on an airplane. And I think they were like in Minnesota or something, and they missed the connecting flight, and I'm at work going, I'm sorry, I have to leave. I have to drive to Minnesota and get my daughter on her connecting flight, you know? And she got on the phone again and said, it's okay, I can take care of this. And she did. She got this other girl on her connecting flight in the middle of the United States, and they got, you know, to Minneapolis, they got to Montana, and met up with everybody else, and off they went. And I thought, wow. So the good thing about, there's about a million good things about this Montana trip, but, you know, here's, like, Leah was meeting friends, and they had this group, and all of a sudden she's now in this group with these people who understand her because they are her. They, you know, a lot of them look just the way they did. Other ones look different because they had radiation. Other ones walk differently. But it didn't matter. She could be herself in front of these other children because she didn't have to worry about other people staring at her or making fun of her or thinking she's weird, or she didn't have to worry anymore. All of a sudden, she could just be Leah. And they talked about, they had groups talking about how difficult it is to make friends. That's their biggest issue, is how hard it is to make friends. They talked about dating, they talked about working, they talk about everything. Every time they go to Montana, they do a service project. So now she's learning how to give back and help other people. It is just absolutely wonderful. This other project they did, there's a photography project. We got on a train every Saturday from January through to May and went up to New York City. And this project got teens to speak about their experiences in words and images by taking pictures. We went to the DJ Scratch Academy, the very first place they ever did that scratching thing, and the moms were like, we did all that. We went to a glass blowing factory. We went to a graffiti place. And then they had this big premiere of the Sony Studios in New York. And these kids were absolutely amazing. So those are just some of the things that the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation does. And that's for the children. What they do for the parents is even more amazing. What I've learned is that I have this horrible thing called scanxiety. As a parent, when my child gets her MRI, I now drive home from Children's Hospital and say to my daughter, look how good I'm doing. Aren't I doing great? Look, I'm not crying. I'm not having a nervous breakdown until the next day when I'm curled up in the fetal position. I'm like, oh my God, I hope she's okay. Because, and guess what? I'm not the only person who has scanxiety. We have a parents group on Facebook. It's a closed parents group. And you see newer parents go, does anybody have this issue? And then there's like 40 of us that go, oh yeah, don't you worry. We're all right there with you. And you know, it's good to know that I'm not the only parent that can't breathe until I find out that my daughter's MRI results are fine. And you know, even for my other poor children, you know, my son just had like a little health scare, and for an entire day, I thought he was dying of cancer. And that's just like post-traumatic stress is so real when it comes to health issues. I've made friends with these people across the country that I haven't even met. We're great friends. These are other people who get it. And like the dads have a dad's camp where they bring their survivor and they get to be closer, because you know the dads don't get to walk around crying as easily as the mothers do, because they have that I have to be strong thing. So they get to go to the camp and they get to hang out with their survivor and see what it's all about. There was this one little boy, and unfortunately he didn't make it, and his name was Peter. And we got to meet him at the photography group, and he was just the sweetest guy. He was a young gentleman. You know, I have all these allergies, and I have to bring my food with me everywhere I go. And we would be on our way to one of the places, and he'd say, "Mrs. Lavelle, can I carry that bag for you?" And I'd say, "Well, sure, Peter. Are you sure?" "Oh, yes." And he'd carry my bag, and he'd open a door, and he was just absolutely wonderful. And we didn't know that he was this sick, but here nobody did. He had a horrible reaction to one of his anesthesias, and he got really sick, and he didn't make it. And when we all found out, it was in the winter, the whole Brain Tumor Foundation family was just devastated. And there was a service for him in North Jersey. It had snowed. It didn't stop anybody. We drove up from Philly. People came from all over the place. And Peter's father, when he saw how many people came from the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation, he said that he wishes he could stop working now, but he plans when he retires is he just wants to volunteer for the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation because they were Peter's only friends. And in all reality, these are pretty much Leah's only friends. And this man wants to devote his whole retirement to giving back to the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation because they gave Peter so much joy, these kids. And that's how it is for Leah. These are her friends. These are people who she can talk to about anything because she can just be herself. Whereas her anxiety was so bad in high school, she couldn't even finish high school. She had to go to a special school that could desensitize her anxiety. She walked with a class that she had been going to school with her whole life, but they didn't get it. And the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation has given her life back, and it gives her skills and it gives her hope for a future. And until they found us, I really didn't know what we were going to do. And I really wish there was more that I could do for the Children's Brain Tumor Foundation. But I feel honored that I could come here and say how much it means to me. And if you need a speaker next year when you go to Florence, Lavelles are available. But I just hope that I could relay somewhat of just how important this foundation is to these children and to the parents, because these kids are just our lives. They mean so much to us. And the fact that you guys are doing so much that you can to help find a cure, and like Dr. Phillips and Dr. Storm, you guys are just awesome. And I really thank you so much. So thanks.